Okay, we are good. Welcome everybody to our November webinar. We have an awesome special guest who I will introduce here in a minute or so. But today what we're talking about, the power of stories in AEC firms. You can obviously use this if you aren't at an AEC firm, because Barbara teaches others outside of our industry, but she'll make it specific and unique to all of us. So today, some expectations before I introduce myself and Barbara. Be active, participate. We would love to see your videos. It is kind of boring when Barbara and I are staring at each other. So love to see who we're talking to. There are no stupid questions. If you have questions, please include them in the chat, or if you want to, thanks, Kip. Thanks for following directions. If you have questions, put them in the chat, or feel free to come off mute. We are a smaller group today, so I think all of you know how to do that, all of those sorts of things. Recording will be sent out today or tomorrow. We'll see how my deadlines work today. And then in the chat, we would love to know who we're talking to. So name, what's your role, and your favorite holiday song, so Christmas song or whatever you love are listening to right now. Jennifer and I have been listening to Christmas music already. I'm almost going on a full month, so it makes me happy. I love listening, so whatever works for you. So for those who don't know me, my name's Angie Wolfe. I am the owner, founder, all of those things of Ideas at Dawn, whatever you want to call all of those things. Barbara is a fellow entrepreneur, business owner, but a little bit about me, bring nearly 20 years of experience in the AEC industry, working mostly with the large firms, helping win tens of billions of dollars of new work throughout that time. Right now, my consulting agency helps large civil engineering and construction firms with their proposals and trainings to help them win more work without adding on more payroll. Welcome, everybody. So who, we spelled your name wrong there, Barbara. Our guest of honor today is Barbara. She's the owner of Everest Marketing Services, brings more than 25 years of expertise doing what a lot of you do and what I do as well, but helping our clients with internal communication and initiatives, in addition to external communication as well. So helping them win more work through creating compelling and persuasive content. And then before I hand it over to Barbara, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you stay to the end, we do have something special to give you guys and have access to at the very end. Otherwise, it is all ready for you, Barbara, if you want to take on over. So
there we go. Now I can.
Welcome everybody. Jody, Heather, Chloe. Oh, I like it, Amanda. I saw mommy kissing Santa Claus. Ooh, Christmas wish. I like that one too. Heather. Jingle Bell Rock. Yes, eat some lunch. If you don't want us watching you eat, I understand. Okay. So welcome everybody. Barbara, it is all you.
Awesome. Well, you'll be glad that I'm not going to sing any of those songs. So yeah, that would be a bad story. It may be like more of a nightmare. So it's a joy to be here.
Nightmare at Christmas.
Yeah.
Is that what
There we go. There we go. No, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to share ideas. And again, we'll make this as engaging as possible. I have some content to share. I've got some spots along the way that we can ask questions. Angie's going to monitor chat. Let me know if something comes up, and I'm glad to stop where I am and continue having a dialogue and discussion, because it's a lot more interesting that way. So kind of starting out, what's your company's story? We get a lot of questions about, we need to tell our company story. So maybe just put a word or two in chat, and Angie, you can read them out loud, but what's your company's story? What are some of the key content on that? A key word, a key phrase, a key component. What's your company story? Maybe it's 100 years of business, It's, in just in one state. It's a national company.
Lisa Jacobs is challenge the accepted. Jackie is built to build better.
Okay.
Kip is BPI gets your company's product, concepts, and ideas across the finish line into the marketplace. Heather, building more. Amanda, together we are limitless.
Okay.
Jennifer, engineering for a better life.
Very cool. So a lot of times, where are we telling this company story and what does it look like? And a lot of times it ends up in a firm narrative. It turns out on websites, and we'll talk a little bit about where we're telling stories. But here are some of them that I've seen over time. We've been in business for 75 years with 5,000 employees in 47 states. And it's kind of the yada, yada, yada. Or maybe you've seen this or you've written these words. We're a multidiscipline firm that delivers quality service. I think I've probably written that at least 1 million times. Integrity, honesty, loyalty, or trust, just do it. A lot of times we think our company story are the core values and the principles and the foundations that we've been built on. I've seen this too. Our company story is all about client service. We're proud of our history of client service. And a few times I have seen that, at least in proposals. And then sometimes it's like story. I've got a few pages and specific questions to answer. I can't talk about a company story. There's no time or space. And so when we have this question about what is your company story, what does it look like, then we kind of get to the point where we may say, is anybody even listening? How many times have you written something about all of the services that you provide, and then you meet a new client and they say, oh, I didn't know you did that. And so it's, we're kind of going, well, I don't think anybody's paying attention to the words that we're writing anyway. And it could be words that we're writing as well as words that we're saying. So what we do know is our industry, the AEC, and I just kind of combine it into design and construction, it's a complex industry. We have very complicated projects, from simple to complicated, really across that spectrum, highly technical solutions. There's all kinds of regulations that we have to deal with, permitting, performance regulations, all kinds of things like this. It's managing risk, whether you're on the construction side or even, putting your toe into, especially with some of the alternative delivery, risk becomes a major component. Complex funding. Right now with IIJA, we've got an awful lot of opportunities ahead of us. And still, how do we get that money? How is it going to work from federal to state to local to private equity? All this, where's the money? We always want to track it and trace it. And it is a complicated process. Capital improvement programs where we think things are going to happen. And then we find out every year of the capital improvement program, well, things aren't quite as what we thought. And it's always changing. So it's very difficult to pinpoint exactly what's going on. All different kinds of project delivery methods, who's in charge, who's the prime. If you're a sub-consultant, then how many teams are you getting on? Then there's the handshake deals. It's those long-term relationships that have been built up over time. And then there's qualification-based selection. So there are specific questions that we have to answer so that we can prove that we are capable and able to do the work. So even so that we've got a very complicated industry, what I hear and what clients are constantly saying, and you can tell in their RFPs that they're thinking this, clients can't tell us apart. Architects, engineers, and contractors, the people who we work with, and it may be some of you actually on the call as well, we may not be the best communicators. Really smart people, there's challenges in that process. Most technical people hate sales, so we avoid that word. We call it business development, and professional service is just a little bit more complicated. Proposals have limited space, lots of questions, a few pages, font size, margin size, all the things. All the questions must be answered. There is a threat of becoming disqualified if you don't have every I dotted and T crossed. What about the cover letter? Some people say nobody reads it. Some people say that's all I read. What is your approach on a cover letter? Clients still have their go-to firms so that you can do everything right and lose, and you can do everything wrong and win. And still clients are going to pick who they want to work with. we're all shorthanded. Nobody has enough resources, and we all are looking for people. So how can we make things move faster, quicker, easier? And then finally, we just throw our hands up in the air and realize standing out from the competition is hard. It's a very complicated industry, and our work is not easy. So with that in mind, here's what I know. Most designers and contractors struggle to stand out from the competition. We've just talked about how complicated it is, and our clients are telling this. They cannot tell us apart. So that what I also know is that firms that communicate clearly stand out because they're relevant and memorable, which leads to preference, and that means a win. So what the whole focus of today's conversation is about storytelling, and story is the greatest weapon that we have to combat noise. How do we stand out from the competition? Because good stories organize information in such a way that people are compelled to listen. We hook them in, they follow along with what's going on. And so we use a lot of storytelling techniques in all of the things that we're doing to make it so that we can get selected. So Angie introduced me real quick. I've been in the industry for a long time. I've been hearing storytelling at least as long as I've been in the industry. And I have seen it from all different sides, from the design as well as the construction side. And now as a consultant, I'm hearing the same kinds of things. So we're all struggling with the same kinds of issues. I like words before numbers, although I do have a few numbers in here just to keep the technical people excited and happy. And really what I'm passionate about is helping professionals, whether you're a marketer, business developer, or a technical person, improve your communication skills so that what you say gets heard and what you write gets read. So today we're going to use storytelling as a topic of conversation. I'm going to show some examples of a storytelling technique and how we can create clarity with it. And then I have some exercises, however we can do that online, but really want to have some really great conversation. So these are the storytelling steps. And this is not rocket science. This is the hero's journey. It starts out with a character, and the character has a problem, whatever that can be. There's kind of components of that. They find a guide who understands their fear, because when someone has a problem, there is bound to be a lot of emotion that's involved in it. Not only the actual technical aspects of the problem, but also the emotions. The guide gives them a plan and that calls them to action. The guide says, do this, and then they do it. And when they do, they achieve success at the risk of failure. So this is the hero's journey. There's all kinds of pathways. All of these things are going on. This is basic storytelling. So what we know is that stories work, and especially after the pandemic and a lot of Netflix binging and all of the ways of watching movies online, we all are seeing a lot of different kinds of movies, different genres, and at the same time, they all have common elements. Starting with the character has a problem. Now, this is Liam Neeson. He's in the movie Taken, and quite frankly, this movie starts out very quickly. He gets a phone call, his daughter's been kidnapped, and the whole process of the movie are the ups and downs, all of the challenges and obstacles that he runs into in order to save his daughter. What's important about this as an example is that problem happens very quickly. It's the first thing, and it hooks you so that you want to know more what's going to happen. We've all also sat through movies that were drowning and going on, and we were kind of waiting. We say it, we're waiting for something to happen. My husband says they're sure doing a lot of character development, which means there's nothing that's really holding my interest. So stories work for the first standpoint because they hook us in and they start with a problem. And then from there is whatever the genre is, it continues to keep your attention. The second part about stories relates to the guide. And I think Rocky is one of the best examples. And in the lower picture, we see Rocky and the coach, and how the coach helped Rocky become Rocky and famous, and actually the star of many movies. And here, Rocky in the upper picture, Rocky has become the coach. He has become the guide to Creed. And so this is true because a character has a problem and they find a guide, and the guide helps them solve their problem and they achieve success. So Rocky's a great example, all the movies that have been developed. And then we have Yoda, and Yoda is probably one of my favorite guides because he's quirky, he's fun, and he is so wise with information, and he helps Luke and the other characters achieve things that they didn't know that they could achieve. And I think Star Wars is using the storytelling technique, even in all of the sequels and all of the sub movies and sub shows and things like that. And so what we know is that stories work. They capture our attention, they keep us engaged, and we're always looking for things to happen and follow through so that there is a resolution. So here's the number. For the first reason is it's neuroscience. We are always thinking about, how am I going to survive and thrive? It's the caveman mentality. It's the limbic part of our brain. We're always trying to stay alive. And that's where the problems come in. Are you with me? Are you against me? I'm thinking about what's important for me. I'm thinking about, are you my friend? Are you going to save me if that tiger comes and eats us? And so this is a very fundamental way that people think. I need to stay alive. A secondary part of that is that people are always thinking about, how do I conserve calories? I need to stay alive, and I need it to be simple, easy, and not as difficult or not as demanding of energy as possible. We see this in proposals all the time, and we'll get into that later. But fundamentally, the storytelling process works because human beings are constantly thinking about their problems and how can you make it easy for me. The second number is, if you stop talking about a client's problem, they stop paying attention to you. That's because they're thinking about, how do I survive and thrive? How do you make it easy for me? Now, I know a lot of times we don't want to think about problems and difficulties, and it sounds kind of negative. At the same time, think about conversations that you have when someone is going on and on about something that you have absolutely no interest in. You check out. You kind of wait for, why should I be listening to this? What you want to know is, what is that interaction? How is it that we're connected? Why should I listen to you? And this is the common in the human experience. So it isn't necessarily just negative problems. You talk about things that other people are interested in. That's a basis of communication. Number 3 is, finally, if you confuse, you lose. And if it's complicated, then again, we're trying to conserve calories. People are going to disengage. The brain is an energy hog, and the brain cells need twice as much energy as the rest of your body. And it's because we're constantly trying to make sense of what's going on, which is why when things are complicated, it makes it harder for our brains to work. And a lot of times we will check out. A lot of us have a desire to pursue through things, but quite frankly, if things are hard, people aren't going to be engaged. So I like to think of it in terms of a bowling ball. We're constantly trying to figure out, how am I going to survive and thrive? And if we think about information, facts, figures, data, project descriptions, resumes, all the things, think of them like bowling balls. Each bowling ball is a fact. You can hold one fact or hold one concept in your hands, and maybe you can hold 2. Maybe if you're really strong, you can hold 3. But when we start piling bowling balls into our hands as if in the form of information, after a while, you just can't hold it anymore. It's too complicated. It's too difficult. And so this is why when we go into the weeds, we lose readers. People check out. They don't understand what we're saying. They're going to say, it's too difficult for me. And I don't want to spend that much time and energy to understand what it is that you're talking about. So that's essentially what is going on when we have stories and how the human brain is working with information. So now I want to take just a moment and kind of, if you've got a question, but really fundamentally, we're constantly being asked to tell our company story, but what makes it so hard in our industry? Why do we struggle with this? I've got some thoughts about it, but put some comments in the chat. Why do we have a difficult time telling stories in the AEC industry?
Kip says unwilling SMEs.
Unwilling SMEs. I'm going to say uneducated, but yes, this is exactly. They prefer to think that going into the weeds shows off their knowledge and their expertise. And the more complicated, the better, because they're very smart people. And we'll talk about that. Absolutely. Our SMEs don't understand and are unwilling to think about how they can help us create better, clear messages. What else?
Same thing, similar to what Jennifer and Amanda, engineers don't want to focus on the story. They want to talk technical. It's also very technical information from Amanda. Lisa, because most of the speakers are comfortable in the weeds. Jennifer, because they're smart. Kip, confidentiality concerns, don't want to talk or say too much about it. And then Leah, because we do so many things that it's hard to explain it all.
Yes, yes, all the things. Absolutely. Love it. We're all on the same page. So here's how we can use the storytelling technique. And so these are all the same words, but let's kind of dissect it. So the character, and this is what's really important to help our SMEs understand, is the character is the client. We are not the heroes. And so I know they're very smart people, but they are not the heroes of the story. Their clients are the heroes. Their clients have problems like project issues, community perception of a project, some of those regulations, some of the technicalities, all of the complexities of the design or the construction. Yes, there's all kinds of problems, but that's what the client is thinking about. They find a guide who understands their fear and their concerns. So this is that aha moment for SMEs and technical, really smart people, is they are the guide. They are the one who can help the client solve their problems. And I know that I'm married to an engineer, and so I totally get it. They are the really smart people, and they're helping their clients solve their problems, but they're doing it because they're a guide, not because they're a hero. And that gives them a plan, which is what we do. And I'm going to pause a little bit here and just say something I heard years ago, which I think is absolutely profound, is yes, we work with really smart people that are very knowledgeable about a lot of technical issues. And they want to go into the weeds because they, as one engineer told me, Barbara, engineers like to talk about the things that engineers like to talk about. And I said, yes, I know, but does the rest of the world understand it? And generally, no. So when an engineer can learn to simplify and have a plan that is easy to follow, it's going to help the reader or the hearer understand something that's very complicated. And they have now built their credibility and authority because they have not made it so complicated that their audience doesn't understand what they're talking about. Because if it's complicated, the audience is going to check out. But if it's simple and easy to understand, then the audience is going to stay engaged. And that is a trust building kind of exchange of information. So it really helps technical people. I'm not suggesting that they dumb it down. They simplify the complexity of what their information is through a plan, an easy to understand plan, so that somebody else can understand what it is. So I like to think that plan is what we do, but we keep it very simple. And I believe in the power of three, make it 3 steps, 3 buckets, 3 major phases. If we simplify that information into easy to remember steps, then that audience, virtual or visual or auditory, they'll understand what we're talking about, and they'll be a lot more happy because they're along on the journey. So we call them to action. Pick me, select me, follow me, call me, all these, this is kind of the salesy part of the work. And that if they follow what we do, they will have success. Now, project success, our client success it's their success, not our success. It isn't that we're going to develop a long-term relationship. It's that they're going to get the project that they want. Their communities are going to be happy with it. They're going to meet the budget. They're going to meet the schedule. Project success are the outcomes that the client's going to achieve at the risk of failure. And we can subtly put this in there. There won't be fines. We will avoid fines. We will avoid change orders. We will avoid budget busts and dismay, public dismay, unsupport for a project. So this is how, when I saw the storytelling technique, I was so interested in it because suddenly it made sense to me that we could apply it in our industry. So I think it really can work very well. So we're telling stories all the time in proposals, and then there's stories throughout proposals, in presentations, in social media, and in all the things. We're constantly telling stories because we want someone to understand that we can help them solve their problems. So take a little detour on the trip here. And one of the things about the storytelling technique is that it feels pretty salesy. And I'll provide the resource at the end. But the traditional sales funnel is leads and sales and follow-up and conversion and all the things. And we still talk about that in professional services, but it's a little bit different. And so this is when SMEs kind of reject some of the things that we say because they're afraid that we're selling kind of hard. And really our job is to clarify what it is that they're communicating. So our sales funnel looks different. It's because that it's not like Crest toothpaste and there's all kinds of people that are going to buy it. There's only so many projects, so many qualified firms, and we don't even really calculate market share. We talk about, what are the opportunities? We know who our competition is, and we understand that not everybody can do everything. So the AEC industry is a little bit harder. We don't like sales. Just say the word sales and instantly that car salesman, the sleazy car salesman comes to our subject matter expert's mind. And so it's professional services is just a little bit different. So what we know is that the 3 R's, and this is a great resource, How Clients Buy, is a great resource for professional services. And they talk about the 3 R's being relationships, referrals, and reputation. That is what we're building constantly so that we get selected for work, because our sales funnel, this is when I kind of get creative, do they know us? Are they aware of us? Do they respect us? And then do they trust us? And it's based on the 3 R's. So that our sales funnel, we still have one. We have to move audiences through that, but it's not quite as it's not transactional like a regular sales funnel is. So when we talk about our funnel and we're talking about how do we push people through, then in the awareness column, we're telling stories in the website, in networking opportunities, at events, in social media. This is how we're building awareness in the population, in the world out there among our prospects. How do they respect us is they build their understanding, their interest, and their respect. And this is when we provide thought leadership, and we speak at conferences, and we write articles and case studies, and we do presentations, lunch and learns, those kinds of things. And that's what we're doing there is building their respect for us. And then trust is when we have actually one-on-one conversations. We do the proposals, we do the presentations, we negotiate correctly. And this is our sales funnel. And at the same time, we're doing all of these activities to push our clients and prospects to that level of trust so that they will select us. And that's how professional services work. So when we look at this sales funnel, we realize we are telling stories all the time, and we want the stories to be consistent. We want that voice to be the same, and we want to constantly be letting them know they are the hero, we're the guide, whether it's an individual or we as a firm, and our job is to help them solve their problems, and we have plans that we can help them. So it's a little bit of a diversion from the actual storytelling process. At the same time, we're telling stories at every step in this sales funnel. So again, stop here. What's the so what? How can you apply storytelling, understanding there's different layers in the sales funnel? How can we apply storytelling to our work? Do you have any questions at this point? Does it making sense? Any concerns? Kind of a thumbs up, and we'll continue to go.
Looks like it, Barbara. No question.
Okay. So let's start with a simple formula. And in this framework, we have something called the one-liner. It's kind of like an elevator pitch, and I'm not a fan of elevator pitches because I think they need to be very tailored to who you are and what your role is at the company. But a one-liner is this concise statement, and it helps you say things that will encourage people to listen. So it's kind of like when you're at a cocktail party and somebody's talking and all of a sudden they say something and you go, oh, tell me more about that. They hook your attention, they capture your interest, and it is a way to have a conversation so that it will work through and create a good communication between two people. So this is the formula for it. There aren't any numbers, but first you start with the problem, then you state the solution, then you state the result or an outcome. And it can be a sentence, it can be a thought process, it can be a couple of sentences. Here are some examples, and these are some actual examples from clients I've helped, and everybody has their opinions about some of the words and the language and everything. And sometimes it's easier than others. But let's say Acme Engineering is the one, I need to move my pictures, is the one firm you need to ensure your project reaches its full potential. Sorry, I need to move this because I'm going to have some words on the side and I want to be able to read them. Is the only firm you need to ensure your project reaches its full potential. Acme offers award-winning multidisciplinary solutions to the architectural, engineering, architectural, and surveying needs of our clients. And it's kind of like blah, blah, blah. What does this mean? If you confuse, you lose. I need to really understand what is it that you actually do. So that we dug a little bit deeper and we talked about what are the problems that your clients face. And so we start out with challenges are part of every engineering, architecture, or survey project. And that is absolutely true. At Acme Engineering, our design and survey teams create solutions that minimize delays and avoid budget overruns. It still is general. At the same time, if a client looks at these words, or you can say these words, it's like, absolutely, because the minute you say challenges are part of every project, they're going, absolutely. I remember the last one, and I'm really curious about what you're going to talk about next, because you're absolutely right. And so when we say what we do and how it solves problems, schedule and budget are always going to be on a client's mind. So we frame the sentence to be able to say the problem is challenges. The solution is we create solutions, and the outcome is to minimize delays and avoid budget overruns. We don't generally talk about this. Usually we say we've got, 57, we've been in business for 100 years with 47 offices and 5,000 employees. Who cares? So in this part of the conversation, I'm out with some of the survey folks, and they said, we compete on price and we're never the lowest. We're not the lowest provider. And just hint, everybody says that. Nobody's the lowest provider, or at least nobody admits it. So we dug into it more, and we talked about the fact that the problem is that low cost surveys aren't always a good deal. Our quality surveys lead to quality projects. We match survey requirements to project need, so clients are set up for better design and construction. So we're just saying, hey, you get what you pay for. We know how to understand exactly what your survey needs are, because then you will get better design and construction projects. So it's very interesting. And I think you can say this in a sentence, if you were at a cocktail, we do survey, and what we know is that low cost surveys aren't always a good deal. What do you mean? Well, we know how to do surveys that are going to end up with better design and construction, and that's instantly going to create a conversation. So if you're a sub-consultant, you may wonder, well, how does this work for me? And so with another firm, we started talking about it, and what we came up with our one-liner was sub-consultants require so much managing that it seems like you should just do the work yourself. Acme Engineers' team of professionals consistently deliver hassle-free projects so you can focus on your work, not ours. So a lot of times, as a prime firm, it's like, those people, they can't seem to be able to do their jobs. And so this is when we start talking about the things that our clients or prime firm are struggling with, then it's like, absolutely, I'd like to know more about that. Tell me how you deliver projects. And it creates an opening for a conversation, so that it isn't just, we're all based on client quality, service, and things that everybody else is talking about. Most companies don't talk like this. Okay, take another break. Tell me what you're thinking, because I know this is a different way we talk about problems, and some people that I've talked to are really uncomfortable with the fact that that's really kind of how we're opening a conversation. So you agree, you disagree? Does it sound like something that as your wheels are turning, it's like, that's kind of a different way of sounding, and I'm curious about this.
Yeah, Jennifer said this is what we're working to do in all of their marketing and materials. And then her other thing, when you were going through them, it said she made a comment that would make me want to stop and talk to them. Like,
exactly.
Right?
So think about, their clients are surviving and thriving, and they're thinking about, how do I conserve calories? So we're right away talking about the things that they care about, and we're making it easy for them to understand because it's also clear language. So I'm going to just take a jump here and say, think about to the cover letters that you write. And I know that I'm hopeful that all of you all, if you have Angie you work with Angie, you know better ways of writing cover letters. But so many cover letters I still see these days are thank you for the opportunity to submit. And we're so excited. And we've been doing business with you for all these years and blah, blah, blah. And it makes me gag sometimes. So what if you restructured your cover letter so that you're talking about the project in that first paragraph and the challenges that that project is facing, and that they need to select a firm that understands the nuances of permitting, or that a long-term relationship means that you can anticipate the challenges. You already have developed the relationships with the agencies that are involved. Think about what is the problems that that project is facing, and we can start structuring our cover letter so that we're talking about the problem. Then we introduce ourselves as a guide, then we have a plan, and that's what they can look forward to when they work with us. So, you know, I don't want to say we cherry pick the elements of the story process, but we can start thinking about state the problem, state the solution, and state the result. That becomes a very easy way to start reorganizing the information that we're talking about so that people will pay attention and it will capture their attention so they'll want to learn more and read more.
Mhm.
I'm going to keep going. So I made up some questions, and maybe if you think about it, pick one of them and chat, put it in the chat, see if you can, and we can either do it vocally or verbally, or we can do it in the chat if you'd like to try to write, or say something that you might want to kind of experiment with.
Is this like the elevator pitch, Barbara?
Yeah, it is, using the problem, solution, and result. So tell me about your company. Let me just kind of throw an idea out there. Let's say that you're a sub-consult. Let's take the sub-consultant viewpoint, and you want to be on a primes team, and it's a design project, and you're a MEP and you want to work for the architect. You know, you could say that you know, the challenges on this higher ed educational facility are going to be significant to get the equipment here on time so that the deadline can be met. We have relationships with all kinds of suppliers and can specify equipment so that there aren't delays or questions during the process, so that we can meet the longer lead times, which will help keep your project on track. You know, tell me about your company. Let's talk about the kinds of things that you may be for a particular project, you know, and how you can help them solve that problem. That's kind of a specific answer to a general, rather than a general, tell me about your company. But how could you restructure your elevator pitch for using something like this?
All right, Kip's example. Companies hire VPI to solve electrical, software, and mechanical engineering problems.
Okay, that's a good place to start. So companies hire VPI to solve their MEP problems. So what are some of the problems that those clients that you help them solve? Equipment that works, improving operations, managing facilities. Managing facilities is complex. To keep facilities operating efficiently, maintained at a budget conscious maintenance. Think about the problems that those clients are facing, and then at BPI, our professionals have the certifications and the background to make sure that our solutions are maintainable and operable for long-term budget success. that was terrible. But you can kind of see that, think of it in terms of what's the deal for buildings and its operability and maintainability, and not having enough people potentially to, they're struggling with people too. Maybe you have to have more automated systems because they don't have enough people. So that's where you want to start the conversation. And it's okay to be able to, just like we said, construction is challenging. Challenges are part of every project. Think about the facility, managing facilities these days is hard. And then you can lean into, to provide operable, maintainable facilities. Then you can lean into what your company does. Because if you say that from the very beginning, they're going to go, you get me, you understand the challenges that I face. And a lot of times we may not know a specific issue with the client, but I'm going to suggest that if you're professionals and you're as experienced and you're really a guide, you can anticipate the kinds of standard problems that clients have. That's your business. You can organize that in enough generalities that it's going to be something that's relevant and memorable.
Okay, thank you, Barbara. We have one from Jennifer. Another example. So change for change's sake isn't always better, stronger, faster. At IEA, we learn the way you approach your infrastructure projects and offer solutions that meet your context and needs. We will partner with you to meet your budget and the schedule you need to meet.
Yes, that's great. It's long and wordy, but again, you've got the concept, and then we would shorten it and simplify it. And that part of the plan that we talked about, remember, is, and this is just good copywriting, is we want to continually use simpler words, shorter sentences, more concrete statements, because they're trying to survive and thrive and people don't want to work too hard. But very good. That's a great start. And you have the information, it's just kind of reorganizing it. And that's what is so much fun about the storytelling process, is you've got the nuggets there. It's just a matter of moving them around and refining the information to be really spot on. Remembering, if you confuse, you lose. Make it simple and easy to understand. Good job. Let's do one more. We have one.
I don't have one yet. Anybody else want to put one in the chat or come off of mute and word vomit and have Barbara help you? All right. Anybody else before I do Kip's revision? All right, we'll do Kip's revision. Why hire VPI? If you know what you want, but don't know how to get it done, we're a bunch of really smart engineering teams helping you figure it out.
Well, we're getting there.
That was not a retool. That was question number 3. So.
Oh, okay.
I did not do a rewrite.
Okay. So yeah, drop the first 3 words. So if you don't, a lot of clients don't know the best solutions for their complicated needs. At VPI, we help you analyze, dissect, and provide recommendations that help you manage your facilities more efficiently. So it's hard. What I'm going to say is, as a writer and having been in this industry for a long time, it is not easy. So give yourself a little bit of time and practice. But once you start looking at information this way, you start to find better ways of streamlining it. At the same time, think about those movies, capture their attention, hook them in, then talk about yourself. And the elements of the story start to make it so that you're not always talking about yourself. You're not wee-weeing all over the client. Their needs are more important than you are. They can't survive unless they have you. So you don't have to, again, you don't have to be that hero. You don't have to go in and just throw up all over them. So this is my one-liner essentially. So anyway, most architects, engineers, and contractors struggle to stand out from the competition. This is the major problem that companies face. My marketing toolbox is full of practical strategies and tactics that help companies communicate clearly so they win work, attract employees, and grow their firms. So this is, and I continually refine mine as well, but fundamentally, my clients' problems is they struggle to stand out from the competition. They have to win work. So how do we help them stand out and look, be noticed? So here are some next steps. Here are some things that you can do to help you get to the point of developing better stories in your content. Continually ask clients and consultants and your SMEs, ask them to think about what makes their clients' work difficult. Find out the client's problems. Now, good business development is always looking for the project issues, and those are included, but there's other problems as well. Right now, what I'm hearing is quite frankly, there's a lot of federal money that may be out there, but we don't have enough people. States or agencies don't have enough people. And we don't have enough people. So we're, availability, capacity, those kinds of things are problems. So, and the agencies don't have enough resources and things like that. So they're hiring consultants at the same time. We don't have to talk about it, but consultants are having a hard time with people anyway, as well. So we want to think about what are the barriers, the challenges to deliver projects. Second of all, is simplify how to solve problems. Remember, bowling balls. We don't want to have so many bowling balls that we're just going into the weeds and going on and on and on. We have to help our SMEs streamline and simplify the information, and to the point of using simpler language and better writing, more spot on writing, so that the client can easily understand what we're talking about. I believe in 3 steps: beginning, middle, end, first, second, third, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, 3 major elements. And then we can streamline information and drop it in there. But people can remember 3 things. And what we want them to remember is what makes our team better. They've got an easier solution, and especially true in a presentation. Here's the 3 things that you need to know about the project. Generally, when you give people direction, they'll do it. So this is why our plan is really important. You have a problem, we're here to help. Here are the 3 steps that will help you achieve that success. So you also want to know, what does success look like? A lot of times I see us in the cover letter saying we're looking to build long-term relationships. The clients don't really care about that. What they're looking at is success to them means their community loves their project. They get a plant up and running again. They have safer roads. All of these things. Think about what success looks like from the client's point of view. And then what is the alternative? What are the risks? What are the challenges facing the client in the delivery of this project? Use one-liners for emails. I think one-liners can be used in lots of different ways, but think about emails. You want to put the problem, the solution, and the outcome at the very top, so that it will hook people and be easy for them to process information. Less I and more of you. We are not the hero. The client is the hero. And so it's not all about us. It is about how we can help them solve their problems. And then the last one is for us writers and whatnot. Commas are not your friends. And when I first heard this, I thought, what do you mean? If 1 word is good, 3 is better, right? But good reading is simple, clear, and very succinct. So if you're adding a lot of commas and you're adding a lot of similar words, look, can you cut them out? And I know that I've been working on the storytelling process for a couple of years now, and I know that I'm getting tighter in the words that I'm using and the concepts. And again, thinking about, I want to make it easy for my readers to understand what I'm fundamentally saying. And the more words, even though they're great words, the more words don't work. So commas are not your friends. That helps you to kind of simplify. So going back to this storytelling framework, it's based on a book called Building a Story Brand, which is an amazing book. When I read it, I thought, oh, finally, this could work for our industry. Finally, it just made sense. So this is the article that, Angie, you can drop in the chat now, is the first 3 chapters of the book. So that, and what this does is this really goes through the 7 steps to communicate clearly. Marketing Made Simple is the second book that he wrote, and it is breaking down this storytelling technique again into the phases of the sales funnel. And he talks about websites and sales letters and email campaigns and nurturing campaigns. So this book is not AEC specific. And when I read it, it's kind of like, yeah, we don't do that. And I was a little uncomfortable with some of the things. And at the same time, it is a good framework that we can apply to our industry with all of the ways that we're telling stories. And if you're a podcast person, there's Marketing Made Simple, which is a fun podcast that talks about a lot of different examples. It's very product based, but it's still, they're always talking about this storytelling process. So I know I've got like a minute left before the hour's up, but what is something that stands out? What is something that you can try? And I'll say you promise to try. What is one of the action items we can take away from this to make sure that this learning is really activated and it's been worth your time today?
Anybody want to come off mute and verbally commit? You are more likely to do it if you actually verbally. Jennifer, good job.
Yeah. So I love we do threes in our themes, but I never thought of it in their phases. So keeping them to threes whenever they're trying to phase a project. I love that because that's going to take their text from this giant gobbledygook down to 3. So
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, you can help them understand because if they're suspicious, you can
Mhm.
say, yeah, people just can't remember that many things, but we can remember 3 things.
Mhm.
And it's neuroscience.
When you said it, I laughed because one of the best graphics we've done, and we got great feedback, got shortlisted with the client. Like, we loved this graphic. Well, that took us a week of refining to get it down to 3 and in a little corner that paired with the text. So it went from this giant thing to this little corner, and they loved it.
It is. And so when you're working with your technical staff, again, help them understand that they're really smart people, but it increases their authority and their credibility if they can take all this complicated information and make it so that anybody can understand it. The 5th grader, the 3rd grader, whatever it is. And that actually increases their credibility. And so if, remember, your colleagues are now your clients, they're your heroes. So you can kind of, lean into the fact that your job is to help them communicate clearly, and simplifying things is one of the methods to do that.
Thank you.
Great job,
Awesome.
Jennifer. Kim mentioned that she enjoyed the weeing part, which was funny as well. Anybody else want to commit either verbally or in writing an action that you are promising that you will try? I don't know if others, I'm sure, I know all of you have the same struggles, but so I've edited a document, got it back. People started like adding the sentences back together, adding in more commas, and I'm like, whatever. Like, it's just.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And again, if you confuse, you lose. Keep talking about clients' problems. So again, here's my contact information. If you have any questions about it, let me know. I'm glad to help. And thank you, Angie, so much. I'd love to share ideas about this and get examples. And you're on your road. This is, a lot of clients can't tell us apart. So if we can simplify and streamline our proposals and all of our writing, it will endear them to us, and they'll listen more, and we'll have more opportunities to work with them.
Yep, for sure. All right. One last thing that I wanted to share. So for those who are still on, the something special that I talked about at the beginning, for those who follow me on LinkedIn or email, this past, last week, I think it was, I had a 6 steps to a successful proposal lunch and learn. And so as part of this, we have the, let me put it in the chat, the recording available for you to purchase if you would like. I just put it there. So if you want to get a leg up on the competition, elevate your team's effectiveness, win some more work. I do not go into story brand, so that is all Barbara. But if you need help with the process in general, help writing, winning proposals, compelling submissions, learn how to manage everything effectively. Here's some quotes from Casey, who attended last week. He's like, I prefer to be proactive than reactive for future proposal efforts. It was a great refresher for past lessons learned the hard way, right? So sometimes we just need a refresher of things that we should be doing to make our lives easier, even though we whittle things away and need to do the minimum. So it's just an hour webinar, quick and easy training. You can also scan the QR code or go to the link. Otherwise, any other questions? I think we've covered them all, but I will stop sharing my screen. Any other questions for Barbara that you are dying to ask her, or come up with other things you want her to give you feedback on? Anything else? Otherwise, thank you all for joining. Not sure what we're doing for December's webinar yet, so maybe we'll have Barbara back, who knows?
Bring some examples. We can all talk about
As
it.
I say, we'll just make it a working session on working through our content. But no, thank you, Barbara. It's for me, my brain's like, okay, now I need a formula. Like, what's the formula I need to write? And I also have Building a Better Story book as well.
Yep.
Yeah,
Applying it's all the magic. It's all fun.
it is. Yeah, I am not an engineer, Jennifer, but yes, I would love a formula, right? I'll create one of this is the first, and that's what I do even with cover letters. Like, here's the first paragraph. And just like you talked about, Barbara, like, I reviewed a proposal this week and it talked about how great we were, how many years of experience, how we're local, all of these things. And I did want to vomit. I'm like, redo, restart. So
Yep. Yeah. 7 steps. You can use that.
yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, thank you all. If you need anything else, reach out. You can connect with Barbara on LinkedIn. Otherwise, she had her contact information and her website. Otherwise, we will see you all next month and the recording will be up here soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you all.